Good morning, girls. In last video, I've discussed on ecological approach in geography, and today I plan to discuss location and space in geographical thought. I have divided the entire discussion into two phases. In first phase, I'll be discussing on space, its characteristics, types, and in the next phase, I'll be discussing on location, types of location, and dualism between the concept of location and a space. Basically, non-geographers, those who are not exposed with geographical theories, laws, very often use the term location and space interchangeably, but these two terms, space and location, are not the same. So let's start. First, we will be talking about a space. So, interestingly, perhaps no other term of geography is as frequently dealt with as space. Space is often regarded as the fundamental stuff of geography. Space is one of the basic prerequisites for its existence as science. Indeed, so fundamental that the well-known anthropologist Edward Hall once compared it to sex. It is very interesting, the quotation. It is there, but we don't talk about it, quote and unquote. It is there, but we don't talk about it, I repeat. And if we do, we certainly are not expected to get technical or serious about it. The term space as we use it today only came into use in the 17th century. Space and place are now fundamental geography concepts, to the extent that geography has even been identified as a science of place by the famous French geographer Paul Vidal de Lablasse, or as a spatial science by an array of writers. So, if we talk about a space, we get there is no work in geography that doesn't certain it. Nevertheless, geography has not yet formulated an explicit and unambiguous definition of geographical space. In spite of this long-standing tradition and its importance for geography, the interpretations of the concept of space considerably vary. Different interpretations of space are projected into theory and methodology of geography, causing numerous theoretical and methodological errors and misunderstanding. And not only that, differences between geographical interpretations of space, or more specifically geographical space, may even reduce the value of geographical resource for practical utilization. So now, concept of space. Space is the boundless, three-dimensional extent in which objects and events occur and have relative positions and directions. It is no more than the collection of spatial relations between objects in the world. Space is that which results from places taken together. According to David Harvey, space is a thing in itself. Thinking about a space has obvious roots in philosophy. Descartes, for instance, sees space as intrinsically related to the dimensionality of masses or bodies. In a space, the notion of Cartesian space, Newton saw space as an independent, three-dimensional, infinite container for matter. In contrast to this absolute conception of a space, Leibniz posited that space is fundamentally relational. Space does not exist in itself, but rather is the relation between bodies. The concept of geographical space is a relational one. It acquires meanings and sense only when related to other concepts. The concept of space may be conceived as a supplement of things, that is, substantively conceived objects. A space conceived in this way is the synonym of emptiness. The concept of space may be also conceived in relation to individual landscape elements as their environments. Space conceived in this way has the character of a field of core. If we talk about the characteristics of the space, we find few fundamental characteristics, like number one, it is physical and active. Number two, it is existing and is an orderly manner. And number three, it is measurable. It can be described. Number four, it can be a point or line on a map. If we talk about type of space, then we found a space has been written about in a lot of ways. There are, for example, books upon books which document the different kind of conceptions of space that can be found in disciplines like philosophy or physics. For example, a Newtonian definition of a space came from physics, and Descartes has given the definition of a space, concept of space, from a philosophical point of view. Basically, the concept of a space is categorized as follow, like absolute. First of all, it is absolute space, and then it is relative space. Two types of space are identified. First, absolute space. It is a container. Absolute space is actually a container, like a container which holds all the earthy matter. For example, village, city, factory, forest, road, railways, etc. So, absolute conception of a space in which a space is a distinct, physical, and elementary, real or empirical entity in itself. It has a few important characteristics, like it is physical, real, which can be perceived through experience. Then the concept of a space, absolute space, associated with German philosopher Immanuel Kant. Geographer divided the absolute space into small fragments, and when these fragments are divided evenly, then it is called an area. But when these fragments are divided on a fixed parameter, then it is called as a region. On the other hand, relative space, the concept of relative space is in which space is merely a relation between events or aspects of events and thus bound to time and process. It has few important characteristics, like it discusses the relationship of different events. Number two, space cannot be judged only through absolute viewpoint. Space is dependent on what people see, what he thinks, and in which way it can be used. It means relative space is social space mainly. And the next characteristics we can say it is of various type, like social space, economic space, relational space. So a lot of type of spaces are there in the group of absolute space. And one of the most significant modern geographer, Nigel Theft, in his paper, in his discussion, he mentioned four type of species. He says currently human geographers are chiefly writing about four different kind of species, like relational view of a space, in which rather than a space being viewed as a container within which the world proceeds, a space is seen as a co-product of those proceedings. He mentioned four type of space. Number one, empirical construction of a space. Empirical space refers to the process whereby the mundane fabric of daily life is constructed. For example, train, bus, house, all those. Number two, it is block space. Block space refers to the process whereby routine pathways of interactions are set up, around which boundaries are often drawn. For example, we can say social networking sites. Social networking is this kind of networking is also an example of block space. Next one is image space. Image space refers to the process whereby the proliferation of image has produced new apprehensions of space. For example, if you if you think about aerial photograph, if you think about satellite imagery, you will see a kind of space there. And the last one is place. Place to the process whereby species are ordered in a way that open up effective and other embodied potential. And if we think about geographical space, the type of geographical space, we find there are three type of geographical space. These three type of spaces are independent of one another. Number one, real space. Real space, this is the common geographical space which can be reflected by map or remote sensing images, so forth. It is, we can say, it is absolute space. It empirically observed, it can be measured. For example, houses, like train, bus, all those things, including aerial photograph, satellite imageries. Next one is phase space. It can be described by time series of geographical system. The concept of phase space taken from physics, but it is very helpful in reflecting the regularity in the temporal series of geographical evolution. And the next one is orderly space. Order space, it is defined by referring to the definition of phase space. It is characterized by hierarchical data, including the geographical data based on rank order. So, here I want to conclude the concept of space, and next I am interested to discuss the concept of location in detail. So, first, the concept of location. Location denotes the geographical situation which may be a part of a space or a point or position in a space where objects, organisms, fields, or events may be found. For geographical studies, the knowledge of location or situation is considered as essential. The term location and situation are generally used synonymously. Location is a basic element of spatial relationships and plays a significant role in the physical as well as cultural realm. Location determines the interplay of climatic elements and influence the geographic distribution of plants and animals. Location on the globe is a physical attribute which cannot be altered by man. Actually, location exercises a great control on the economic, social, cultural, and political spheres. It is treated as the pivot of geography, which influence physical phenomena like climate and plant and animal life at the one end of the scale and socio-economic development, civilization and political status at the other. Among different concepts in geography, the concept of location is the oldest one. Thus, geography inquires about the exact location of an area or any subject, that is, where it is isolated. To know more about location, following two subjects need to be discussed. Number one, site. Site means where the object is exactly located. For example, the site of Clooney Women's College. The site of Clooney Women's College is like Kalimpong. Uh, it is in the southern side of the ridge of Kalimpong, or you can say the Kolkata city. The site of Kolkata city is the delta of Hooghly River. Now, situation. Situation means the location of an object in relation to others. In general, there are two types of location. One is absolute location, another is relative location. Absolute location, it is known as a geometrical location which is presented on the map by latitude and longitude. The latitudinal location of any place or area is of mass significance. Like the temperature tends to decrease with increasing distance northward or southward from the equator. The latitude of a place determines the interplay of climatic elements and influence the geographical distribution of plants, animals, and human population, and exercise a great control on economic, social, and cultural spheres. The longitudinal location of the place has not any significant influence on organisms and human life through the time, is determined on the basis of longitudinal location. Local time of a place increases toward and decreases westward from prime meridian or Greenwich meridian. Relative location. The relative location, also called the geographical situation, it is the location of a point or place in relation to another point or place. The location determined by physical or natural phenomena are also known as natural situation. A natural situation or position of a place or area may be related to continent, sea, ocean, mountain, hill, river, etc. Natural situation influences considerably human life and activities and social, economic, political, and cultural conditions. Some examples of natural situations are the continental situation, maritime situation, insular situation, peninsular situation, mountainous situation, foothill situation, etc. Now I'll talk about the importance of location in geographical study. Location means the physical composition of an area. An area is differentiated from by from others by its characteristics. To know the exact location, we have to take help latitude and longitude. Establishment of industry is determined by the location as it helps to know that in which place it should be located and it got the maximum benefit. Not only that, the place should have the availability of the raw materials for the establishment of the industry. So location is very important. Site and situation of any area are determined by location. Location helps to find out the distribution of any object or resources. It also provides us with other geographical information. For example, where the paddy cultivation is high, there is the available of fertile soil as well as high rainfall. So now I want to discuss a very interesting aspects of these two concepts, that is duality of space and place. In popular space, I told you like in the beginning of this discussion that place and space very often used interchangeably, used synonymously, but this is not correct. In popular space, uh, yes, it is used interchangeably. One important contribution from geography, we can say, we can feel proud that geography is a more precise meaning of ease of this term. Geography distinguished both of the term from each other, like place and space, that is place and space. Although the conceptual debate is ongoing, there is a rough consensus that space is a more abstract concept than the place. A space is associated with Newtonian container-like conception of the physical world in which matter is located somewhere along three dimensions. A conception that resonates with our intuitives understanding of space. Combining the structuralist insight that a space is socially produced. The, the point is very important. A space is socially produced and not given, and the humanist insight that people do not live in a framework of geometric relationship but in a world of meaning. It becomes clear that space often function space often function in specific ways with distinct characteristics and meaning in particular context. Then space become place. This point is very important. Space become place. Hence, the most straightforward and common definition of place is a meaningful location. A meaningful location. Interestingly, where the information, interestingly, we the distinction between a space and place does mirror the distinction between data and information, where information is commonly conceptualized as meaningful data. You can remember we talked in class, we talked about this. Data and information are synonymously used, but that two are not same. When information is actually a processed data, when data is sorted, processed, analyzed, then it becomes information. Similarly, when like meaning is added with a space, then it becomes, when a space becomes more meaningful, it becomes place. So place generates from the space. As Tuan has shown, the concept of a space and place can be correlated with movement and stability. It's a very interesting example. A space can become place when we stand still and observe. When we stand still and observe, it becomes a space, while place is essentially a static concept and can, in that sense, also be defined as whatever stable object catches our attention. As place are spaces we know and value, they form a basic condition of life. From the security and stability of place, we are aware of the openness, freedom, and threat of space, and vice versa. Furthermore, if we think of space as that which allows movement, then place is pause. Each pause of movement makes it possible for location to be transformed into place. One can thus see the home as the ideal type of place, the most meaningful, valued, stable, and safe space as a person might inhabit it. In contrast, public space is often the space of moving between places, such as commuting from home to office, also meaningful, although part of the public space are, of course, also meaningful, for instance, as a place for politics and private memory. However, place and space are not discrete. In conclusion, we can say space and place are not discrete. Mutually exclusive concept rather. They form a spectrum with place at one end and space at the other, which is simultaneously a continuum linking experience to abstraction. Space and place are intrinsically related concepts. They constitute each other. A place takes meaning from the space outside it, and spaces are relevant in relation to the places they surround. In logical terms, space would seem to be a primal concept. We first need a space that we can fill with meaning. In order to get a place, for example, the act of giving a name to a space, for example, Delhi, Kolkata, Kalimpong, Siliguri, all those, is often a key step is in creating a space, a place, not a space, sorry, it is place. In existential terms, however, place is a primal concept. We exist only through being in the world, as argued by Heidegger. So I hope the video will help you to understand what is a space, what is the importance of a space in geography, what are the characteristics of a space, what are the types of space, and the places, and about the locations. Then it will make you understand about place and I hope you will understand uh, how to distinguish between place and space. So here I'm concluding today and waiting for feedback. Thank you.